How are you guys doing today? So I'll let Vanessa deal with that so I don't double click things. So welcome everybody. We're glad that you're here, and welcome and thank you for taking a little bit of time away from your busy days leading into the 4th of July. I hope you guys have some good plans coming up. So we'll jump right in and get started. And again, you guys will be able to watch this. You'll get a replay of this event later. And for those who are tuning in after the fact, please let us know if you have questions that are not answered during this preview as we go through the app and look at what is going to be happening here. So my name is Dan Freeman. I'm owner and founder of InspectionFire. I also run a chimney company that I've run now since 2016, I guess. So it's been 10 years that I have run my own chimney company. I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado, and service primarily ski towns up here in this area, and have kind of a 2-hour service window that I have done. And over the years, I've really struggled with a lot of the inspections that I do and have tried to find ways to make it more efficient. So today we're going to look at our newest version that's out there, and we'll give you a little introduction to the three of us, myself and Justin and Vanessa, so you know a little bit more about us, and then we'll jump in. So let me click through. So I'm not going to read through all this, but just I've really tried to dedicate myself to education within the industry, and have ended up getting into places where we tend to argue back and forth about the best way to inspect this system or that system, and how do we test things, and what do we need to do things in the best way possible to make sure that the customer knows what they're dealing with. And so I saw a big need in my own company and started pursuing how to do these inspections better and how to speed them up so I didn't have to go home and spend an hour or two doing reports to make them look professional to the level that I wanted. And so that's where InspectionFire was born. So a little bit, about me. It's been probably 6 or 7 years at this point that we've been developing forms off and on. And I actually don't remember. I think Vanessa is next, and I'll give you a little bit about her, and then let her introduce herself. She started working at my chimney company originally, and then we moved her over here to InspectionFire to help out here. And everybody that works with her finds her to be phenomenal. I think most people would rather chat with her than with me if they have a problem. So in any case, Vanessa, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Vanessa. I do the operations and service with InspectionFire. I joined InspectionFire after working with the chimney doctor. I worked out in the field, did operations and office administration. So I got a really well-rounded perspective of what chimney professionals deal with day to day. And I got to see that firsthand. And I like to focus on customer service and supporting the internal process, helping inspectors get the tools that they need. And that's kind of what I get to do here at InspectionFire. And I've really enjoyed it, and super excited to see where it's come from the beginning to now, and excited to share it with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. And we do not know where we would be without Vanessa. So, and then Justin just recently started helping out here with events, and he's been a great addition, and we're really looking forward to his input and his perspective on things as we move forward. Justin?
Yeah, my name is Justin Meredith. Some of you guys know me, and I'm excited to be able to be part of this team. I've been an owner-operator since 2015, really. I started my own business then, and have, just like Dan, looked for solutions to a lot of the common problems, wanted things that were more professional, more concise, and explain things to our homeowners and our clients in a better way. I have a lot of certifications, not as many as Dan, but I do have quite a few. And I'm also very dedicated to education. Helping other people solve problems is really my entire secular life. Even before fireplaces, that's what I did, was help people resolve issues in their homes. And so we're excited. I love this software. I've used some other softwares. This is the one that I love. And I'm super excited that Dan and Vanessa gave me the opportunity to be here with you guys and to help with this process. All right, so the old app, we talked a little bit just briefly about how we've looked for solutions to the problems that we had, especially training other people. Dan had a lot of employees. He'll talk more about that later. I have never had a single employee when I started my business. That was a goal that I had. But for me personally, I needed something that made this an SOP, essentially, a process that was easy to follow without missing critical elements of the inspection, documenting everything thoroughly, and with verbiage that I didn't have to come up with all of these different things to say, how to explain things. And so I tried several different programs, landed on this one a few years ago, and have just absolutely loved it. I think it solves the vast majority of the problems that we have in our industry with documentation and inspections in particular. But with that said, the current app does have some what's the word I'm looking for here, Dad?
Limitations. That's probably the
Yeah,
word.
limitations. Yeah, it does. Limitations that were out of our control. And that's really what led to this meeting today and to this point in our development of the new app.
Yeah, we've had Vanessa, if you'll start bringing that poll up and make that active, and we'll see if those that are on, if they can access that and click through that, and then we'll pay attention for that. So you'll see a poll comes up. It's just going to ask what chimney inspection software you currently use, and you'll see 4 or 5 options on there. One of the big problems, like Justin said, is that as we looked at how to develop and modernize just the chimney workflow, because as you guys know, inspecting chimneys is not as simple as everybody thinks it is. It's complicated. And it's all conditional, and everything that you do as you start opening these systems, you'll find things every day that you have never seen before. And so how do you make a workflow that is specific enough to capture what you need to, but broad enough to be able to kind of be modularized to build and document what you need to? And so with our prior developer, we were pretty limited in what we could do. And to this day, our prior developer, using their system, they still tell me that to this day, in the like 20 plus years that they have been around, we have still built the most complex form that anybody has ever built using their system. And we've asked it to do things that nobody else has even thought of or considered. And a lot of the features that they now offer out into the rest of their market are because of the stuff that we required and tried to figure out how to do. And even with that, there's still a lot of stuff that we couldn't do, and they would not allow me the freedom and the access I needed to be able to do that. And so the new app is going to allow us to go well beyond what we have been doing currently. Okay, so we have a good mix. So we're a little over half we're using InspectionFire currently, and then half are using other systems, the ChimSpect, which is good. So we'll show you the difference. So we'll switch here. I'm going to pull up. For those that have not used our current app, I'm just going to real quickly, and this one I'm going to do, we'll do it bigger actually. Here we go. So in this one, this is our old app currently. And so those who are using the app, this is only going to be like a 2-minute super high level overview for those who are understanding where we're coming from and the philosophy behind it. So I'm going to click this bottom form, this workflow form, and it's going to open up. And essentially the way that our current form is built is it walks technicians through a workflow, and so then they could come in and add in as many systems as they want. And so we're going to call this one the living room fireplace and add that in, and it'll take it a second to open up because there's a lot of conditional logic in here. And so we start out with our basics. We walk into the room, we grab a picture of an appliance, and I'm just going to pick from some that I have here on this device. You then get like a medium range close-up of your fireplace. You then check your type of inspection you're going to perform on this unit. So we'll pick a level 2. We have our base appliance type. So again, we're doing a fireplace. We'll say this one is a factory-built fireplace, and this is going to be a wood burner without an insert. So it's just a standard wood burning factory built. And now that I've done that, what this does is this conditionally pulls in several of up to 60 plus sections that apply to all the different systems we look at, from masonry heaters to to factory built and masonry fireplaces to freestanding wood stoves to dryers. There's just a lot of different options. And so then as it comes down in here, it pulls in these sections that in the current app, people can then pick, hey, is that applicable? Is it not applicable? And they move on. And if it's applicable, it opens up these sections that they can add to. And this has been extremely versatile, and people who've used it, this has changed the way people inspect. It allows them to see a lot more and just make sure that across technicians, things are being done in order. And so here's where one of the frustrations that we have with this is in the end, by the time you open up 20 or 25 of these sections, this form can get kind of long on this one page. And if you're not careful, you can get a little lost in it. And now that said, a lot of companies have experienced huge growth and huge improvement in the way their customers view the reports and their professionalism using this form. But so what I'm going to do now is just switch over to our new app here. And this is fully offline. So the way that the new app is built, similar to the old one, if you don't have service or connection, you can still continue to do your reports. You will be able to. And so I'm just going to start a brand new one down here and hit this plus button in the bottom. You'll notice it has a similar flow. We have our drafts, workflows completed, and more, just kind of for our settings areas. And then I'm going to hit this plus. I'm going to show you the difference in here. So we're just,
so one of the really cool things on this page to me too is in the old app, we were limited on we couldn't add any additional notes. So if the information I wanted to put into the inspection wasn't in the flow when you're adding your client, you just couldn't add it. And I love the fact that we have a section at the bottom, you'll see it here in a minute, where you can add your own notes right there under where Dan's typing in the job identifier. You can add custom notes to several of these pages now. So if you want to note anything in particular that you saw as you came up to the house, or as you saw the appliance for the first time, or met the client, you can add all that in to your workflow.
Before we continue, is anyone having trouble hearing us? Looks like some people in the chat are saying that the audio has got an issue. Has anyone else got any issues?
okay, Carlos says he can hear us.
Okay.
Scott, hopefully you got your audio working up there. If not, the recording should have it as well. Okay, thank you, Vanessa. Okay, so this next screen here that we have, though, this is then, so what can happen is either in the office or like a technician can start an inspection on their own. We are working and will, that's one of our things after we launch and get it out for beta and initial people to start using it, as we will be able to start getting it hooked up to where we can pull in data from either QuickBooks or a CRM, and we'll work on those one at a time to start adding in some of those integrations so we're not entering customer info. But for the moment, that's going to stay that way just because we were trying to really get the core workflow perfected, and then we can start to add in all these things to make life a little smoother. But so these inspections will be able to be sent from the office. Like the office could actually start it, put in the customer info, and just assign it to the technician. And then when they show up on site, they can just click a button and hit complete arrival. And what that'll do is allow them to take an arrival picture when they showed up at the house. So they may show up, they may get a big front door, they may get something spread across the house, and then they can document weather conditions. And it's multi-select, so we'll say it's windy, overcast, and sleeting today. And if it were that, it would probably be 32 to 50 degrees. And then optionally, they can verify customer phone number or email. Currently in our reports, the way they're worded, because a lot of ours are for home sale or level 2 inspections, we don't always want the customer phone number or email in the report because it may be getting shared with lots of people. And like particularly in my area, we deal with a lot of high-end homes. And so I can't have that information being sent around, or I'll have some very unhappy clients. And so some of that, again, optionally, it can be included. And in the future, this will pull in from the files, and you can verify that or leave it blank if you prefer. And so then a technician would show up, they would complete their arrival, and then they now have, so now we're inside of an inspection window. And here they can essentially add unlimited systems. So in most places, I mean, in my area, I'd say most of the houses I inspect have 2 to 5 systems in them. Most places, you'll probably be inspecting 1 to 2 systems at a time, maybe 3 if you end up with a 3-flue chimney. It just depends on your area. But so in here, I can add 1 system for each, or I can add custom documentation, which for those who use our existing system, that is where we kind of have that custom form where you can build whatever you want, and it just kind of repeats the same blocks. So I'm going to show you a system. We'll do the same fireplace system, and I just want to show you the difference in the ease of navigation inside of this system. So here we go. We're going to have kind of that same perspective photo that we can then add in and take some photos if you want. I'll show you down here further where we get to where we can edit pictures. What's our inspection level on this system? Again, we're going to say we're going to do a level 2 inspection. System name, we'll do this one as the living room fireplace. Base appliance type, so we'll pick our fireplace, factory built, wood burner, connected to a factory built chimney, no insert. And then I'm going to create this system. And this will pull in all those sections that we talked about in the other one. So here now we get a very succinct summary. And this is what we call our inspection navigator. And this will allow you to jump around within a system and even jump out and into a different system. So now we have our listing information, supporting documentation, our firebox and components, anything that's in that firebox, grates and burners, fuels and control, air supply, chimney connection, adjoining areas. And so each one of these sections, we're going to be able to just flow through very quickly and very easily. So I'm going to click next in complete section. And it's going to take me to kind of I may jump. I'll just click that one and we'll hop into here. So here in this section, similar to our existing app, we can add up to 10 photos per section. And if you're taking them, I guess if I take them, you'll get to see my dirty desk, but I'll just show you, just allow here. So you can just take a picture and use it. If you want to edit it, you can just click on that. Like I'll do some arrows here. We'll make them a little thicker. I can immediately just kind of add and highlight things there. I can resize it. I can move it. And so you end up with just a lot of things that you can do very quickly within these pictures as you take them. If we tried to really streamline it, and then we'll come down here. So we'll say, yes, we have a listed fireplace. The listing tag on this one will say the heatilator. Can't make out the model. Can't make out the serial number. Can't make out any of the rest of it. And so we'll just check, hey, our model number was not identified. None of that was identified. It gets a little pre-written explanation, which you guys can totally customize and add to or put things in. And so very quickly, I can document that information and just click next in complete section. And so it's telling me I'm missing some details, but I'm going to continue anyway. And so what I'm going to do is this little tab on the left, I can now instantly jump. So if the weather's bad and I'm like, hey, I want to go look outside real quick, I can instantly jump and say, hey, we're going to go outside and look at our termination right now. And clicking that little button, I can jump back again to wherever I want. And so again, we can add our pictures. I come down here. There is an optional for new technicians. There's an optional education section that they can open up and see what types of things they're supposed to be gathering in these areas. And then here, these checklist areas, they just skim down through it, and it'll have a list of components and areas that may be issues. And Justin's gone through these and looked at them. I've actually reviewed both, like all the checklists that are in here. I've actually reviewed with both David Stewart and with Bill Ryan for probably a day each of time to go through and make sure we've captured probably 85%, 90% of the things that you see on a daily basis. And the moment one of these is checked that something is wrong, it pulls in, again, a pre-written description. But on the web, you can customize now the language that you want to use or that pulls in for you and your technicians. You can override our default language. If you check there's nothing to report, it'll just have your pictures with nothing to report. And one of the important things is nothing to report doesn't mean there's no problem. It means you didn't see any problems. It means that given the scope of whatever you looked at, you don't have anything to report. Because there may still be issues that you didn't see. There may still be issues that were there. And this is legally the best way to say that so that you're not committing to say, hey, there were no deficiencies. Well, that may be true, or maybe something was missed or concealed that wasn't visible. And so again, next section. And you can just keep clicking next section and moving through. So we're on that exterior, shrouds, other systems, factory built flue interior. And if you click in here, you'll see that this one now has number 24, has that green check mark. It means it was completed with no deficiencies or has nothing to report. And then up here, that listing information means some information was missing and that we had a problem there. So I'll come in here just to screens, just to show you. I'm just going to pick one with a few things wrong. And then we're going to hit next in complete section. And now when we pull in here, same thing, that screens and glass doors essentially shows that that is there are things wrong with that. And so if you have sections that don't apply, for example, this fireplace does not have grates or burners up here at the top right. There's a way to just with one click, just exclude that entire section from the report, and you can just hit exclude, and it jumps you immediately to the next section, which in this case, there's no gas log set, there's no gas lines, so that would not apply. And then if I click on this again, you'll see that those two have been skipped. And when you go through the sections that matter, the ones that you care about, you can now suddenly hit exclude remaining and just exclude everything else that you haven't filled out. And all of those sections that didn't apply are now filled out. And these, like these two at the top, require something to be looked at. So again, so this is our new flow. And I want to pause there real quick and see if people have questions on this flow, or Justin, if you have anything you want to add just on the difference between this new flow we've been working on and the existing flow right now.
So I just think I love this flow. This incorporates a lot of the things that I've been asking Dan for the last few years, to tell you the truth. And he just kept telling me we can't do it under the current system. The ability to essentially pick where I want to go and when I want to go there, instead of having to scroll through all of those 20 or 30 different workflow items. Also, the ability to move back and forth from system to system is a tremendous time saver. With the existing app, you really have to either finish a system before you can move on, or you have to fool the system by closing it and reopening it to go in and work within another system, even on the same house. I don't see houses that have 4 or 5 fireplaces very often in my market, like Dan does, but I see a lot of them that have 2 or 3 systems. And so the ability to work within those systems and then move around without closing out the app, without trying to do any tricks, it's really a fantastic upgrade. It's going to save a lot of time. I've been using this in the field already to do some of my annual clients that are easier inspections. I have done some level 2 inspections. Most of them are not full level 2 inspections, and it's great. The ability to annotate your pictures within the app is fantastic. There are so many features within this app already that make it head and shoulders better than what we have, and what we have is outstanding. It really is. The verbiage, like Dan was saying, nothing to report. How many of you guys are using another system, another software that says something like it meets the requirements or it doesn't meet the requirements? When you're limited to just those 2 things, how do you really accurately describe what you're reporting? So I love what we're doing here. I think it's great. Hopefully you guys are going to love it too. I think you will. I think it's going to really help you to train. If you have additional employees and you're trying to teach these guys how to do inspections without missing things, this is going to really simplify that training process.
Hugely. Jumping on to what Justin just said. So the most guys I think I've ever had at one point was 5 as far as other field technicians out in the field. And for me, because of how thorough we are with our inspections, and because we go to these high-end homes, that if you miss something, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're definitely going to come sue you. Like up here, we've inspected houses regularly that are 20 to 30 to 40 million. And on the rare occasion, the 40 to like $60+ million homes, which are crazy to go look at. But if you miss something on an inspection like that, there could be huge costs that they come back on you on as an inspector. And so for me, it was taking me upwards of sometimes over a year before I truly felt that an inspector was going to be okay to go and look at some of these houses. And so there was a long learning curve before I could send them to some of these higher end homes. And with this new inspection app, I was able to start getting inspectors who I would trust to go inspect these higher end homes in 3 to 4 months. And so for me, that training difference was massive. And again, that may be more intense and more involved than some of the houses you guys work on, but being able to speed up that process, my technicians have gotten and got to where it if their phone died because they forgot to plug it in, or their tablet, and they were like, shoot, I can't get into the app, I don't have it. They got to where they could go through and take every picture they needed in order, because they knew what order the app would work in. And then when they got back to the shop or got it charged in the truck, they could just load their pictures really quick. So again, just a plug on that there's a huge difference. So one of the other differences that's going to happen is at the bottom of this list here, you'll see this review and finalization section. And this is now going to happen on a per system basis. And so that on each system, as you conclude your inspection, before you've looked at everything else in the house, once you get that system done, then you can take it and record your recommendations and all that right there if you want to, or you can come back and do it later. So I'm going to click suitability assessment. And so right there, it's going to ask, it gives you a summary real quick. So of the sections that were up there, I had one section I did not complete. So that's something I'm done. So I can click it with my firebox and internal components in the system, and I can just jump right to it. And so they would get a list. So like if I click deficiencies noted, 2 sections, there were deficiencies or something wrong that we checked. And I could click those and jump. Same thing, nothing to report. We had 1 section. And in this report, again, just because I'm trying to show you the workflow, but so we had excluded or not applicable sections, there were 26. But so I'm just going to click that incomplete section and jump right there to it. That's right. So this one, in order to exclude this, and I'm not going to get into these here. If you want to see the measurements, that may be something we do a little bit later on. But we do have sections that have measurements that you can add in if you want. So maybe I'll just plug in some numbers here so you can see it. So I'm going to add a photo here. Again, I could add up to 10 there. But so this one I'm going to say include firebox measurements. And it's going to ask me, is this a standard or a Rumford fireplace? So if I pick standard and I say we have a fireplace depth of 18 inches, it's automatically going to tell me, hey, it did not meet enough depth requirements, and it will auto select insufficient depth from the checklist below. And so we're trying to make things easy, that we can put in the data that's needed to justify that something's wrong, and it will auto select and auto calculate to save us time. So if I put in that there's 22 inches, it unchecks that insufficient depth box and says, hey, your sufficient depth is open. And so in that case, we have for our firebox depth. So I'll mark that maybe we had something. We'll just mark nothing to report on this one as well. And then when I click that next incomplete section now, it will actually jump me straight back to that suitability assessment, because everything between here and there has already been completed. So there's no more searching or trying to find where you need to go. You can just, hey, take me to the next thing that's incomplete in this report, and it'll jump you straight there. Coming down, as the technician, the other thing that I have tried to avoid is making the app actually determine suitability of use. Because we can mark that things are wrong, but not every deficiency and not every minimum standard. Just because something is wrong doesn't mean it's not suitable for use. And so that is our role as the professional that is there in the home. And so we manually do need to click that. Were standards met, not met, or can we not verify? Suitability for continued use. It is suitable with conditions. It's not suitable, requires further evaluation, or it's undetermined. And then with that, we will confirm what's in here. And if we have an exception, we can confirm that. And it was asking me to confirm it because our inspection actually noted that we had deficiencies noted, but I'm now telling it that it's still suitable for continued use. And so it wanted me to clarify, are you sure that this was suitable for continued use? You noted deficiencies. So it's kind of that accountability filter for your technicians. So then our next incomplete section.
You also, just real quick, Dan,
yeah,
as a technician, you have the ability to put into that box your own language to say, why did I say this? If it has these deficiencies, but I'm saying it's suitable for continued use or under certain conditions, you can put that in there. If it's suitable, as long as they replace the grate with the original manufacturer's grate, then you can put it in there so that verbiage is there. It's recorded for you, for the office, and for your homeowner.
Yeah, and I see Felicity. I like your comment. Definitely looks like employee onboarding will be much simpler. That's the goal. Is as long as you can show them and help them understand what the system types are, this will help them understand what they're looking for and where they're going. So then next they would look at potential outcomes, and all of these fields that you're seeing now that have text already written in them. I did not pre-fill any of this. This pulls from boilerplate text that we have on the back end. And within a company settings page, and I'll show you that briefly later, but you'll be able to customize and override any of our default language that's in this report. And so anywhere that this, like here where it has this potential outcomes, if used, combustibles too near one or more appliances, fireboxes, chimneys, or systems may overheat and potentially ignite, leading to a structure fire. I'd say that applies if you ever have clearance issues, but there are times it's carbon monoxide or something else. And for now, you'll be able to override what we have in there. In the future, we're looking to where you're going to be able to have multiple options that your technicians can select from. So, hey, if you have clearance issues, here's your text. If you have a carbon monoxide issue, here's your text. And where your text can even create their own and have it like a template library for each of these fields where they can pull in the things that you want set as the company and save them all that time. So I'm just going to confirm outcomes and go to the next section. Summary and additional notes. This would be that goes right up front on the report. And so this will be kind of on that cover page just above where it would list out deficiencies. And so I'm just going to confirm the default summary that's in here because this one's just, again, pretty basic and default, but this could also be customized. And then here we get to our recommendations. What are the recommendations for this system? Like you said, it could just be, we recommend that the factory grate be installed prior to continued use. And again, I've played a lot with the AI programs out there and even trained AIs to see how possible is it to really have an AI do recommendations. And I don't know that it's there yet. There's just too many questions. The AI makes too many assumptions. And even if you really limit it, it still goes on and sounds like it knows what it's talking about, but still, so I'm still playing with that. And someday that may help where it could maybe suggest some text to go in there. But at the moment, that is still the reason that we are a professional and we still have a job. That's still why we are the men and the women who make this happen. Okay, so what you'll notice, so let me go back because it actually jumped me. So you'll now see this living room fireplace is complete. And when I clicked finish down there at the bottom, on the bottom of that recommendations, it actually jumped me directly into the first incomplete section inside that wood stove. And so it didn't even take me back to the main menu. It took me straight to the next incomplete section. So as a tech, I'm like, oh, that's right. I left off that wood stove at XYZ section. I'm going to go continue that and pick it up right there and take that down. So that's kind of our flow within systems. And again, we can add as many systems as we want, and those will all autofill the report. But Justin, do you have anything else you want to say about that before I jump into the custom documentation section?
No, I think you covered that really well, Dan.
Okay. So this, where in our existing form, the way we originally built it, because of how complex all the conditional logic is, was that we couldn't, I was struggling originally 4 or 5 years ago to get all this logic in so we could pull in the right sections. And it just took a long time to make that happen. And so the original form had this custom way of doing it where you could create a section that has a title, up to 10 photos, a description, and then you could pull in optional pre-written notes that covered, so I think we have 626 of them in here currently. And so you could pull those in and just build it one section at a time. So you could just build your report one section at a time in any order you wanted, so there was no limitation. And that is still a possibility. And I've made sure to include that because I sometimes still use that. Like we may document installations, service calls, repairs, just using that form. And so this current form, you don't have to add any systems. You either have to add one system or one custom documentation section at least. And you can submit a report with just one of those sections. So I'm going to show you just the custom documentation section now. So I'm going to hit add entry there on the right. And so again, what this does, it'll let us create, so I may just say, again, living room fireplace perspectives. and surround will do. And so then I will pick, and I would just walk up to the fireplace as I take my pictures. And again, if there's anything I want to call out, I can open that up and edit that right there. Description, and to be honest, let me see if I can do this while it's. No, it won't, because I'm in a webinar, it won't let me, but you can actually voice text and you just hit the little button on your keyboard and you can voice text into any of these fields. I'm trying to get it set up to where on a single page you can voice text and say next field and it'll automatically jump down to the next field. I was working on that, but I haven't finalized it yet, but then you could literally just talk your way through a page without ever having to type or touch any buttons until you get to like picking photos or doing things like that. So again, that's part of our idea what we're trying to get to. But so the big thing here is that once we have this, let me get this just in there. Okay, so you'll notice now at the top this says this section is complete. Once you have a title, at least one photo, and at least 10 characters in the description, this section is technically complete. But what I want to show you is how much easier we've made attaching these pre-written notes now in this new version. So when I click that, I'm going to have it not behind. There we go. So what it does is within here, you can see all 626 notes down through here, which is again too big, but you can limit it either by tapping these buttons. So I just want to see dryer vent. I just want to see factory built chimneys. I just want to see factory built fireplace. And I just want to see the hearth extension. So I'm going to type that in. I just want to do something that has to do with R value. Oh, there's one note. And so then I can preview that note right there. And I can click that to include it. I apologize, I have all these like, there we go. So I can attach that. And when I attach that, it shows up right down here below the pictures or below that description. I can come in and edit anything in here that I want and change it before it goes live. And we can include up to 7 pre-written notes here. And if there's ever anything that you don't see in the report, let me add another one here. You can create your own. You'll notice here across the top, it says all sources. So the InspectionFire library notes, you can alter them before they go live in your report, but you can't change our boilerplate text. That said, you can actually have an entire company library of all of your own notes that apply to your systems. And if you don't see one, you'll notice this button at the bottom. It says create new pre-written note. You can just click on that and it'll ask you to give it a title and a body and pick what type of system it applies to or what type of area. So we'll do factory built fireplace and I can submit it for review. Oh, I gotta have at least 10 characters. That's right. No, it's the body too short. I did that because otherwise you'll get way too short. Text's got to have at least 10 characters. Yeah. That's not a big requirement, I think. So, so then when I hit submit for review, this will submit it to the company admin to approve or edit it before it's saved in the company library. But even at that point, you'll notice it's already down here. So the technician can still put it in his report, even if the office is going to change it or they want to do it differently or word it different. Or even not include it. They have the option to do that, but the technician doesn't have to stop in the middle of his inspection to address that. He can proceed and move on knowing that what he recorded is taken care of. So that is our checklist notes. And then down here at the bottom, I can hit complete and return, or on the right-hand side, I can do add. And if I do add, it'll just create another custom documentation section. In fact, let me add one more real quick. Just because I want to show you something else that we can do in this one that we couldn't do in the others. Okay, so complete and return. So, and this will eventually apply to systems. I notice I don't have that in there now, but you'll notice on the right-hand side, these little up and down arrows, is you can make your sections. And then if you realize, oh, I forgot to put something in, you can just add a new section and reorder them. So I can click those arrows and reverse order. You can move them up and down in the hierarchy of how your systems are displayed. And in the end, we will allow that will also be able to happen with systems where you could inspect 2 systems, the customer adds one on, but you want that system to be first for whatever reason. It would show up at the end of your list because it was the last one you created, but then you could just move it up So it would show up first in the final report. And then at the end of this, well, let me pause there. Vanessa, do we have any questions on systems or custom documentation?
None on those yet. We had some questions about integration, so whenever we get to that.
We'll make sure to get to those and have a few minutes to discuss those, because that's definitely on the roadmap. So let me just show then the rest of this inspection. Okay, let me sign in. Usually you'll stay signed in for 30 days before it requires you. Uh-oh. I get signed out. There we go. I'm like, it should just let me do that. And it does have biometric lock, so you can just have it attached to your, and let me show you this too, because one of the big things that is sometimes frustrating when you're in the middle of an inspection is, okay, so we'll open this one again, and I'm going to go to just some random page in here. So we're in Grates, Burners, and Media. And so sometimes when you get in and out of apps, they can come back in and you lose your place. And so I'm just going to background it and foreground it a few times, and you'll notice I keep coming back to Grates, Burners, and Media. And now I'm going to force close it and get back into it. And so this, when you force close it, it will bring you back to the main page. But otherwise, anything that you do, doesn't matter how long you're out of the app, if you have the biometric turned on, it will face scan you and then jump you right back into the exact page that you were at. And we had, I need to see, I'll have to play with that. It used to have a little button that pops up if you force closed it or like your phone died, and it would say continue where you left off, and it would jump you from the home screen immediately back into that space. So in any case, we're trying to make things as smooth as possible. So once you've got your systems in and your custom documentation, if you choose to include any, you would jump to customer wrap up. And this section, we're still, I'm still playing with this, so this will become a little smoother, but you'll get the idea. They instantly have the ability to get a full inspection summary or deficiencies noted on the two systems that were inspected. Yes, on both. Minimum standards met is mixed, which means we probably checked one system met and one didn't. Summary of service. One of two systems documented, because you got to remember, I finished the living room fireplace, but I did not finish the bedroom wood stove. And so that one is showing me that it did not get done. Do I want to include a summary for the custom documentation content? Because if you only include that, you may want a spot to add a summary. So I'm going to exclude that for now. I'm going to collect a signature. That is not my signature for those who are wondering, but okay, is the signer the customer on file? You hit yes, it just moves on. If you hit no, it gives you the option to add in a signer name and phone number if it's somebody other than who is the customer. You can include how they heard about you. You can include sections on ballparks. And this part will get worked out more, where eventually you have the ability to save templates and pull in templates that you can even put pricing in and have multiple templates for different options that you offer. Currently, it'll be fairly generic in that you have one space to put it and you can customize that. But this will similarly have that template look as we move down through. So I'm going to turn that off for now and confirm that the estimate section should be omitted. I can add payment information. Currently, similar to our existing app, we're not going to allow people to take payment through the app. This would only be if you want to document payment that you took in your CRM or Square or QuickBooks, and you want that included in the report, you could optionally choose to document that. Otherwise, you just move on and don't put anything in there about invoices or anything else. And then once this section is complete, you could then go here. And so this one is telling me this would then be like assign and submit a final validation or confirmation by the technician that everything's complete. This is kind of their final check in an inspection. And so here we see 36 items need attention. And this is again because, so see, I have a warning I need to review in the living room fireplace. And then in the wood stove, I didn't actually do any of that inspection. So all of those sections are saying, hey, you need to complete these fields or mark it excluded. But it just gives me that ability to jump right back to any of those areas and address them right from this final submission list. And you can jump around. It allows the technician to preview their identity, their name, and their credentials. They can edit their profile and go in immediately straight from there. And it'll jump them right back. And then they would just acknowledge the statements and take their signature. And then at that point where it says here 4 items remaining, they could then fully submit their report and photos would be uploaded. Right now it could conditionally like start to upload some things, but it wouldn't let everything actually submit because they still have issues they need to go address. But so that's kind of the new flow. And for me, I'm extremely excited to see this start to be used by technicians in the field and for companies to start to use this, because I think it'll really shorten the training curve, but also the professionalism. And you know, I mean, I built my prior app and I love it. And it works great. And I bounce back and forth between playing with both of them. But this is going to be so much faster and allow you to start in whatever order your company would like you to with your SOP. And you can then just bounce through it without feeling tied to exactly the flow that we built into the form. Justin,
Felicity said earlier that she made the comment about onboarding, and I think that that's very, very accurate, not just with employees, but with everybody that's using the app. I love this new app because I think it's much more intuitive and user-friendly than the old app was. And I thought the old app was actually very user-friendly and intuitive. It's going to be so easy for people to begin to use this. It's not going to take months to figure out the software and the app. It's going to take weeks at most for most people to get proficient with using this app and building a really good quality inspection. And there's just so many features. We just don't have time to really even talk about all the features, the changes that will be immediately available when the app is released for beta testing. And then so many more that are already in the works or planned to be in the works to continue to improve this over the last one. One of the things I love the most, actually, one of the most frustrating things with the old app for me was the autosave feature. And every time it autosaved, it takes you back to the beginning and you have to scroll through all that to find out where you were. So the fact that you can go back to where you were so much more easily is just a huge time saver in the field. I'm really excited, like Dan, to bring this to everybody and see what everybody thinks of it as they begin to use it.
Yeah. So I'm going to go real quick through a couple things just so we're starting to get low on time, and then I want to hear questions you guys may have that we can answer as quickly as we can. So I'm not going to go through the PDF output yet. We're still working on that. It'll be similar to what's there now. So for those who've used the existing app, it's going to be very similar to what's there, but it's going to be different in a couple important ways. We're still going to have our cover page. We're still going to have a summary of our systems that are looked at. We're still going to have recommendations, necessary work. A lot of this isn't going to change. Some of the formatting will change, and some of the layout is going to change. But the big change is going to be that we are going to have essentially like customer-facing web view, where, because some of these reports can get pretty big, especially when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 systems. It's not uncommon for me to send out a report that's 80-some pages. It'll be 35 or 45 megabytes. It's too big to attach to email, and it's hard to navigate this big PDF. And so we're going to have 2 things that happen. Is one, there's going to be a customer portal that you can choose to use or not. You can still just get the PDF, attach it, and send it out how you always have. Or you can have this web view that's going to give a very professional visual overview of this many systems were inspected, this many items were checked, this many photos were added per system, this many deficiencies were noted, this minimum standards met, yes or no, with like a green yes or a red no or an X, or like a caution sign if something was wrong. So it's going to give this visual summary that I think will be more important in home sales than this big report. I mean, the big report is necessary because we're documenting that we did our due diligence and we met the standard of care so that they can't come back on us with a lawsuit. But that's too much information for the homeowner. That's really for the contractor. Our report often is so they know what they're trying to fix if it's not a chimney guy that's getting involved. And so there will be our standard full PDF that we're going to have. And then we're going to have this web view that's going to be beautiful to look at. And so we're still working on kind of the design of that, but that is anticipated. So we may roll out the app without the web view live. It may still just be the PDF, but that is being worked on, and that's something that we're playing with. And then I also want to allow, there's going to be the creation of also like an executive summary report. So they can get the web view, the full PDF, and an executive summary report, which will pull in everything that you have into just a few pages. And it will reference that there is a full report that needs to be looked at or referenced for full information, but that this can give them a high-level overview of the major deficiencies in a very short and concise read. And that may be something that we use a little bit of AI to help summarize into, but it will purely be summary only. There will be no, like, it's not going to extrapolate and tell them what they need to do. It's just going to summarize, hey, within this, here's an executive summary of what this report actually says and the deficiencies that were noted. And so again, we're still playing with that, and we may launch without that fully live, but that is our plan there with the things that we have. Okay, so let me just show you real quick, because we are getting low on time here, as I'm going to jump into, no, not there. Yeah.
While Dan's pulling this up, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and start typing them into the comments.
Yeah, start putting them in, and we'll answer as many as we can. And if we don't get to it, we'll reach out and make sure that we answer those. So please type those in. So here we go. So what we'll have is essentially we're going to allow people sometime this month, we'll start to send out some emails that say, hey, we're ready for initial users to start testing this out. We will have tested it fully by then, and we'll launch essentially a stable version that may still have a few little bugs, but there won't be anything major that'll block reports or submission. And then we'll push that out there and allow you guys to start to play with it. But so to do that, you would get an email, and you would come in here and you would get this overview of, hey, here's what you need to do to help set up the app and get your company started. You would then create your company. You could then add your team straight from in here. No more need to call us or to check. You can turn off their access. You would be able to do whatever you need to do with managing your company and your users from the office. And then, you can have a summary of inspections. From here, this is where you could then create that new inspection and send it to your technicians so that they know it's assigned to them. You will, in the end, be able to see your customers. And again, this will be one of the first things we do is some sync integrations so that you can see your customers' data and pull it directly into the forms as we're working on it. There will be company settings where you can come in and you'll be able to customize, like these are the checklist notes. So technically, here's all 626 of them. And I can click that one that says connector damaged, for example. Oh, hang on, I turn my wireless keyboard back on. And so then here, you can then override our description value and change what it's attached to, and even add it into other lists that are there. And then from that, it will save your override value. Same thing with section content. So these are all the education and explanation sections, as well as templates of things that are in the report. So you'll have a ton of ability to customize things. And that, I should probably pause on that because we only got 7 minutes or so left in our time here today. Vanessa, anything you want to add?
I was just going to say, there is a lot more that you can do manually and for some of the people that are with InspectionFire that I usually am doing for them. So there's a lot more ability for you guys to do it yourselves, but don't forget, I am still here. I am able to help if you do need help along the way.
Oh yeah, no, we're not trying to push you into something and be like, you're on your own, good luck. No, and we really, truly want everyone's feedback on how do we take this and truly turn it into something that will become, kind of the standard for our industry that really addresses all the weird oddities that we run into as technicians and that people run into in the office trying to review inspectors' reports after the fact. How do we just make this easy to use? I see, so the question on integrations, I'll share this, I guess. So the first thing that we're working on is making sure we get the core app out, the core workflow functionality, and the new views, so like the web view and the PDFs, make sure those are all perfected and working well. The first integrations will be to start looking at integrating and pulling customer data in to InspectionFire so that your techs don't have to type it, or that your office doesn't have to type it in. Those will be some of the first integrations. Beyond that, we may look at some other integrations as far as, can we sync or have reports pushed in and pulled out? But those can get a little complex. And Justin pointed out that in a call we had the other day, that one of the main reasons we believe in like our app being truly offline is that we don't want to get to a position where we've integrated with something, and when we try to sync and push the report over, it doesn't go because you don't have connection and gets lost in the process. We want to make sure that the integrity of that data is 100% the most important thing. So once a technician puts it in, it's there. It's not going to get lost. They're not going to have to redo a report, because that's very frustrating when that happens in any system. Vanessa or Justin, other thoughts on answering that question real quick?
Just kind of in harmony with what Dan said, as people make changes in their lives and in their businesses, we don't want to be so tied to one CRM or one this or one that when you leave that one, you just lose everything, or it can be such a nightmare. I've done that before, changing from one to another. It's hard enough as it is. And so we want to integrate, but we want it to make sense for all users and for us, because some of that also is expensive, and that expense also has to be passed on to the end users in the end. So we're looking at that, but like Dan said, we got to get the app out first, and we got to get it tested and get it fully functional so that it's useful in the field.
Yeah, and for those asking about integration, you guys will scan this. This will take like 2 minutes for you just to skim through it. It's just a tiny little Google form, but it'll ask you a couple questions. And one of the comments is, what is it that you're most looking for? What do you think is most important in software? Like, what are those integrations? And please put those in there, because that's really what's going to help us drive. I mean, Justin and I have our ideas of what we think is important, but we're really trying to get this built so that we can start to add in all those little things that just make your guys' lives easier. And we would love to add in more integrations. It's just a matter of making sure that it's done, in a process. And with this new system, we have a lot more freedom in how we do that. So please scan this, fill this out. It'll just take a minute here, and then you can, get to that. James Fox, you asked a question. Is there an estimate as to when it will be ready to be pushed out? And so my goal is to have it 100% pushed out and people on it using it before the end of the month. I'd like to commit to 2 weeks, but it's 4th of July this weekend, so I'm trying not to work going into the weekend. And then next week I have some inspections and a few things that are going on. So I'd like to say we're going to do it in 2 weeks and have it launched and ready to go. But our deadline is like end of the month. By the end of this month, we have, in my mind, a hard deadline of we have to have this out and everybody's using it. So, there's just a few things we're still tweaking outside of the workflow for the presentation and the email delivery and all those little things that have to go with it that will be ready here in the next, it'll take a couple weeks of work, I guess is what I'm saying. So that may take more than 2 weeks to get to, but that's what we're after. And then the other piece I'd say, and thank you guys for saying thanks. We got like a minute left. I'm going to click through just to here. If you guys are not current subscribers and would like to do a full demo of our existing system, I would highly recommend it. Even if the new system is not fully ready, you can start that transition into our old system, because then it's a much easier step into the new system. I think everybody on our current system is gonna love the new system, and making that jump to a guided workflow and then into the new one would be easy. So don't put it off just waiting for the new one. At least check it out. And Vanessa can show you the new app as well as the old app. She mostly lives in and plays in the current app right now, whereas Justin and I are kind of living and playing in the new one. So, but thank you guys very much. We have about 20 seconds. Justin or Vanessa, if you want to say anything else.
Any questions that you guys have, you're welcome to reach out at any point. I've used several of the different inspection softwares that are out there. So if you want to know comparisons, things like that, feel free to reach out.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. You'll have a great night. Happy 4th of July.